Aside from the sustained quality that must be maintained in the tone throughout this etude, the next hardest thing about this etude is the counting. There are many difficult rhythms that look strange and sort of feel strange to play until you understand them completely. To explain a couple of these, I'm actually going to start at the end. We're going to go from the end, 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, and look at these last 4 bars and the rhythms that are in them. So the main subdivisions that we have in this etude fall with the 8th note, the 16th note, and then this different type of 16th note, which are triplet 16th notes, or you have these sextuplets. Okay? When we have that group of 4 16th notes, we know that that's 1 E and a, 1 E and a. If we're thinking in 8th notes, 1 E and a, 1 E and a, right? But then these triplets, or the septuplets, they are the same rhythmic value. They might feel a little bit different in how we phrase them, but they're the same rhythmic value, where we have that same 1 E and a, but now in triplets we're thinking triplet, triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? And so on that 4th note is on that 8th note beat, as opposed to our regular 16th notes where the 3rd 16th is on the beat, right? So we have 1 E and a, or triplet, triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is the type of subdivision that we need here at the end. So let's look at that 4th bar from the end. Here we have if we have our 8th note pulse going, we would think 1 and triplet, triplet, 1, and we have. So now looking at that 4th bar from the end, here we're thinking our 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and. But we're going to start on that second 8th notes feeling triplets within that 8th note beat. So we'd have 1, triplet, 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 1. Okay, so that's putting triplets on each 8th note, those 16th note triplets. And here's what it would sound like. I'm going to tongue all the notes there. You noticed that at the end of that bar, we have this 8th note triplet. Okay, that's different than the 16th note triplet. But the 16th note triplet helps us play that rhythm with an 8th note tempo. In this tempo, you would have on your 8th note, you would have 2 of these triplet 16th notes that go inside each one of those notes on the C, B natural, B flat at the end of the bar. So instead of having triplet, triplet, you're going to have triplet, dum. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Try it with me. 1, 2, ready, and. So your foot actually taps on the second one of those B natural notes, right? Ta 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 ta, ta ta ta, triplet, da da. Try from the beginning of the bar now, and we're going to feel all those triplet pulses. So 1, triplet, 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 dee dee da 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 da. Ready, and. You'll notice that halfway through that quarter note at the beginning of the bar, I'm starting those triplet pulses. That's what you need to do inside of your head when you're playing this. So practice it that way. Here it is one last time. Ready, and. Doing the rhythm this way will help you figure out the 3rd to the last bar. If we take these 16th note triplets and put this at the beginning of the bar, we're going to have dee dee da 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 E. E gets 2 of those 16th notes, and then we have that 1 D 16th note. Forget about the grace notes for now. And then the C sharp actually falls on our 8th note beat. So it's. Right? Do all the 16th notes with me. Triplet, triplet, A, and. Right? And here's what it sounds like slurred. Ready, and. If you tap your toe along with me, you'll notice that the A at the beginning of the bar falls on the beat. Then the next beat is in between notes. It's in between that G natural and the F sharp. Then we have the E that falls on the beat, and the C sharp falls on the beat. Of course, the next G, and then the final eighth note in that bar is in between notes, right? It's right after that G that has the grace note before it. Okay? Here's the last 4 bars. Count along with me. See if you can follow along and really tap your foot all the way through. 1 and ready and. Understanding how these triplet 16th notes work within the pulse is really important to getting this rhythm accurate. It is about musicality and playing with freedom, but first we have to have a foundation of solid rhythm before we can start playing with it and adding some rubato in this etude. So now we're going to look at the rhythm at the beginning of the etude. Here we don't start with those triplet pulses, the 16th note triplets, but we have just regular 16th notes. So if our pulse was before triplet, triplet, now we're going to think 1 E and a, 2 E and a. And here at the beginning, this rhythm starts out with a double dot. So all that means for you is that you have to wait until the very last 16th note of beat 2 before you can play that C sharp. So you hold that B for 1 E and a, 2 E and then the is the C sharp. So I'm going to play all those subdivisions for the first 2 bars. Here it is. Tap along. 2, ready, and. So you notice it when we get into the trilled notes. Those actually get 1 E and, then we have 1 E and 3. Right? Those 2 32nd notes happen on the of the beat, so that last 16th note of the beat is where those happen. Try the subdivisions with me. Here we are. 2 E and 3 E and. Again, you notice how I'm practicing this in eighth notes with that eighth note pulse. We want to practice it first with the eighth note pulse, and then eventually we'll feel it in the single quarter note pulse, right? So we'd have 1, 2, 3. I think it's very important to practice this opening without those trills first. So you see where that line is going all the way through this. Next, we're going to look at bars 3 and 4. Here we need both the triplet 16th note and our regular duple 16th notes throughout this bar. So we need to make sure which one is which. Let's have our eighth notes going, and now we need to do 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and. Then we switch to the triplet, which is triplet, 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 trip. Okay? At the beginning of the bar, we use triplets for the first beat. Then that second beat is the quarter note. So I would just get myself thinking eighth notes there. And then we have these 16th notes, our duple 16th notes at the end. So 1 E and 1. So 3 E and 1 there. Here at the beginning, again, we have triplet, triplet, 2 and da 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 da. Here it is playing. 2, triplet, triplet. On this last rhythm, that double dotted eighth note, that means that you actually have to play 1 E and those 3 64th notes come after the of the beat. So you have 1 E and then you have It's really fast at the end. 1 E and da 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 dum. Okay, so again at the beginning, triplet, triplet, ready, play. going back and forth from thinking triplet, triplet, and 1 E and a, 2 E and a. It's really important. Once you get it, the feel of it, it'll be completely fine. When we take out the subdivisions, this is what it sounds like. Bars 3 and 4. Tap along. 1, 2, ready, and. Keep with that eighth note pulse until you feel really comfortable with these rhythms throughout here. Personally, I used the eighth note pulse when I was playing this so that I made sure that I was really accurate in my performance. Some people would prefer doing it with the quarter note pulse, but I think you'll have to judge. If you can play it accurately with the quarter note pulse, I think that's the way to go. But ultimately, it's, can you keep the line singing with the eighth note pulse? Then I think the eighth note pulse works fine. But you'll have to work that out with you and your teacher. You discuss that and see what works best for you. Finally, for this etude, I would musically really want to bring out these changes in dynamics. When Andersen gives you a moment to really let your tone loose, I would go for it. When there's anything mezzo forte or a crescendo, really show what your sound can do all throughout this. If we look at this passage that has the mezzo forte, before it we might have been playing but now we want to really gain strength in our breath and then release. So here's the last note. In these short measures, we have such an outburst of energy and just singing and soaring. And on that last C sharp that we're crescendoing to in these mezzo forte bars, I would really just go for it and hold that C sharp out until that last eighth note. And then you breathe in controlled air because you've got to come back in piano. I wish you the best of luck as you're working to prepare this etude. If you have any other questions about any of the rhythms or anything else, feel free to contact me. You can reach me by email at jessicaleebanks@gmail.com, or feel free to follow me on Instagram or Twitter and send me a direct message. Happy practicing.